longer than that.
Seems like it, but we just don't get to see enough of you, so we're really happy to have you here and to show us some bass flies that you do so well. And
well, it's a good opportunity to have some fun and be with you, Dave.
It sure is.
And I guess Leroy, too.
Well, Leroy's doing all right. He's coming along.
All right.
It kind of grows on you.
Yeah.
And you're going to show us now a sheep minnow pattern. This one's going to be to imitate a perch.
Yeah, Davey, this is a fly design, first of all, that I came up with to try to really closely imitate different bait fish. And I want to tie for you all this afternoon a little yellow perch. But keep in mind when I do it that this can be applied to any minnow design. It doesn't matter whether it's a shiner or a shad or a dace or what have you.
In various sizes as well as various colors.
Yeah, and I use it in fresh and salt water.
I was just going to say.
And it's a phenomenal fly.
What materials will we be using?
Okay, first of all, that we're going to use a nickel-plated 4X long heavy wire hook.
Okay, this would be what, a size 6 maybe?
Well, for tying his afternoon, size 2.
Okay.
And then, but you can go as small as 8 or 10 all the way up to 1 or 2 aught. Okay. The materials I'm going to put on it are the saddle here is a grizzly saddle that I've dyed kind of a chartreuse green, and that's going to act as the lateral line bars of the sunfish. Then this hair here, which is which the fly got its name after, sheep hair. This is Icelandic sheep hair.
Icelandic sheep.
And it's really special stuff. You see, it's almost like marabou. See how it flows? It's wonderful in the water. We're going to use 3 colors: orange, olive, and yellow. And then to add a little sparkling flash to that lateral line area, we're going to use some saltwater pearl flashabou and some gold flashabou. And then over the top, a little bit of kind of a peacock green crystal hair. And then for the gill area here, a little bit of red dubbing.
And so you've got some eyes?
Yeah, and of course eyes are really important on minnows. So I love these new holographic eyes. They're terrific because they really sparkle and they're very durable too.
Great. Well,
and then I want to use just some 8/0 white nylon thread to that. Okay.
Let's get at it.
Ready to go? All right. First thing I want to do is bend the barb down to the hook, and I just put that in the jaws of the vise and bend it. That takes the barb down. The next thing I want to do is just a bend back or upswimming hook.
Okay.
And so I take and right behind the eye of the shank and bend it down just a little bit, about 5 or 10 degrees, about like that, you see.
Uh-huh.
Well, that'll make it swim straighter?
No, that'll make it swim with the hook up.
Oh, upside down.
The other thing I want to do is increase the gape for hooking. So because a lot of the materials are going to be tied right over the top of this, even though they're soft materials, they still act as a slight deflector. So I just take the spear or the point of the hook and bend it up about 5 degrees. And that will almost double the hooking ability of it. I'll show you what I get.
I've just started tying some of those bend back hooks. I got the idea, in fact, from Lefty on his website.
Yeah.
And I really like the way they act and perform, and of course, weedless.
They're wonderful. Yeah, you can cast them. They're fish. They catch fish, but they don't catch weeds. Right. Anyway, I'm going to just roughen the area. The whole fly is going to be tied on the front quarter part of this shank. I like to use the nickel-plated because it's relatively corrosion-proof in salt and brackish water, but also it acts as mirror camouflage, and I really believe in that.
When you did that bend back, it's about 1/4 of the length of the hook shank?
I'd say about 1/4, yeah, just about 1/4. And I'm going to just coat that over. You can either use 5-minute epoxy or this super glue we call Zap-A-Gap. And so I just take the thread now at the eye and just wrap over just to get a good foundation to tie on over that roughened area. As soon as I get that done, the next thing I want to do is add a little tuft of this really neat sparkle dubbing here. They'll simulate the gill filaments or maybe a little bit of bleeding at the head. And just make a little tuft of that right in front of that bend. Nice little round tuft like that. Now all the rest of the fly is tied forward to that. And isn't that unusual because most people usually tie a lot on that.
So you sure didn't leave much room in the front, though.
Well, that's why we're using the 8/0 thread.
Oh,
see, it makes me look good. Then I take a section of this yellow hair here, and I just lay it, and I want it to come back about maybe 2/3 the length of the shank, and I cut it right there. And now here's a little trick I use to make that really come in there needed. Go right behind the eye of the hook, catch it with a couple wraps like that, and then just pull it down tight, right behind the eye. Then I'll take the Zap-A-Gap and wet the thread a little bit so that this will really bond that hair. Because I've got to really make a strong foundation right there. The next thing I do is to take a little bit of the orange.
Now, that's one thing we've got to say. We like to expose people to new materials and new techniques, and
Boy, this is new, I'll tell you.
I'm sure the Icelandic sheep isn't common around the country unless people have been exposed to these types of flies. But it would certainly pay people that are interested in tying these.
Yeah.
Don't look for a substitute, but find the right stuff.
You can use marabou, and you can use some of the other synthetic hairs, but for the real thing, you want to look for a product called streamer hair, and it's in almost all fly shops.
Streamer hair?
Yeah, and it comes in about 20 colors.
Sheep.
Yeah. Now you can see how the profile here, I'm building a sunfish or a perch profile with that hair. See? The next thing is that I want to add a few little strands of gold flashabou, about 8 or 10 strands, again right at the nose here, because I'll call this the nose, not the head, because the head's going to be back, and leave those just a tiny bit longer than the middle part of the body. Then I'll take some olive and lay right on top of that. This is going to be kind of the top of the sunfish.
Now,
and I try to keep this fairly sparse, Davey. I don't want it to get real heavy, because it casts heavy and it doesn't move nicely through the water if I get this thing too materialed up.
Now, we've called this both a sunfish and a perch. It's basically
you can either one, yeah, but it's basically, down in our country, everything's a perch. But this is a yellow perch imitation.
Okay.
Next thing I want to do is take a couple of these strands of saltwater flashabou and lay right on the lateral line of this minnow. And then I just trim this at an angle like that and bend it back. And this adds a nice little amount of flash to it. And see at the camera there, see how that flashes?
Oh, yeah.
You'd see it on the other side in a minute when I get over there.
As soft as this material is, it must turn into absolutely nothing in the
man,
water.
it's,
translucent.
it does two things. It does two things. You're right, Leroy. It moves through the water like marabou, and yet it has a wonderful transparency, and it's a lot more durable than marabou because it is a hair.
And you can still see the gill plates in there.
Yeah. Now, the next thing is that I want to add a little barred feather to the side, because the yellow perch will have a bar on it. So I just lay that right on the side. I don't strip the quill, and lay one on the other side.
Well, now, didn't I see this pattern in your book on natural, I forget the title of the book,
Aquatic Trout Food Guide, Dave Whitlock.
Where you've designed specific patterns for specific
life
forms?
No, that book was written just before I came out with this particular fly. Anyway, so I put that on there to simulate the little barring effect of the minnow. Then we put on the head, which are merely just a couple of small round feathers. This happens to be off the back of a cock pheasant. Sometimes people call this the cheek of the feather, but you just want to put one on each side.
No, we didn't have that in our materials list, so tell us again that that's just a little body feather from a pheasant?
It's just it's off the back of a pheasant. And I use different kinds of feathers according to what kind of a head I'm trying to imitate. If I was using a shad, I might use like a silver gray feather. So anyway, there's the head on it. The next thing I want to do is add just a tiny bit of this, and we'll be through with the tying part of it, and then we'll put on a little bit of window dressing called eyes, and we'll be through with the fly. It's really...
Well, I can't wait to try that in my smallmouth pond.
Well, I'll tell you, you have to find any place, and just a little bit over the top like that, just to add a little bit of sparkle to it. Now, the next thing I want to do is just finish this head off, and I do one of my favorite quick finishes, which is just simply taking the super glue. Make sure it's waterproof super glue too. This doesn't work with just any super glue. And I just wet about 2 or 3 inches of the thread. I start at the eye and work back.
Well, that's a neat trick.
And
I've seen that before.
Now you can go ahead after you finish and coat it over with, if you want a shiny hard head, with some type of a hard, like 5-minute epoxy or head cement. But I don't do that. I don't need to do that for a fly. Now the next thing you do is to take a little bit of the flex cement and put a little drop right on to reinforce the feather on that side.
Now, for those viewers, this is the same stuff that Leroy has used all the time. He talks about this rubber-based cement. That's basically the tennis shoe repair stuff thinned with toluol or some of the other commercially types, some of the other commercial products like that are available.
I got a little bit too much on there, so I just take this feather and kind of dampen the eye out that way. Now the next thing I do is take some of the rubber cement, and I'm going to put just a little dab right on the eye. Now the eyes, these holographic eyes come with a sticky material, Leroy, but the thing is that it's not that sticky. So by adding a little bit of this,
Just making it more durable, then,
makes
is
it a
what?
lot more durable. Yeah, that eye won't come off. Some people say, well, how long will that eye stay on there? I usually say, well, after the fly's gone, the hook's still there. I mean, the eye's still there.
It's still there.
Yeah. So, but boy, that dresses that little fly up.
Oh,
nice.
yes.
Put that on there. Let me get to the other side, the audience's side. I think you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Well, that
Oh,
really
isn't
does
that, you can
shine
just
out
see what
there.
that thing's going to do when it's wet.
It has an unbelievable action of water. It casts nice. It doesn't carry a lot of water
Oh,
with it,
yeah, sure.
and it's almost 100% snake proof. Now, here's what I wanted to show you. Take and run your finger just down the top of that real carefully. Just go ahead and run it on down there. See how that catches?
Oh, yeah.
Because that little point angled up
Right
that
there,
way.
sure.
Where a
It's
bend
right
back with
there.
bucktail or something over the
Yeah.
top that hadn't been bent up, it acts almost like a snag guard.
Yeah.
But that won't. And how it acts as a snag guard is because the hook keels up.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that little yellow perch, I guarantee you, any self-respecting smallmouth or largemouth or walleye or anything else that eats yellow perch like pickerel or northern pike would eat that. Plus, there's a lot of places like out in Montana and some of those lakes where they have unwanted yellow perch, and the brown trout really feed big
Or
on it.
you can tie it in trout-type colors
Oh, yeah.
and fish it as a trout imitation, too, because they're cannibalistic. A big
Yeah.
brown will gobble up
Yeah.
its own young.
That's right. You can try it in any, you know, I originated it to imitate the threadfin shad
Uh-huh.
to catch big stripers and trout with in Arkansas, but I found it works everywhere.
Great fly.
Good looking fly.
Great fly.
I like
Thank
that
you,
better
guys.
than marabou, even.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
really is nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, the pattern for the Whitlock sheep minnow was the hook. We used a streamer hook. You can tie it any size, from size 2 to 6, 4x long. He used a stainless steel hook. Yellow thread, used pink dubbing for the gills. The body and the head was orange, olive, and yellow Icelandic sheep hair or streamer hair. The lateral line was chartreuse dyed grizzly saddle hackle with a little silver flashaboo over that. The back was peacock green flashaboo. The cheeks were ringneck pheasant body feathers.